And this is Ken Kreitzer for CAM Vets Media. We cover cadets, midshipmen, the military, and veterans, and also Iona basketball. And we're very pleased today to have a chance on Veterans Day to talk to our friend Kevin Hamiliton, who is a graduate of Iona from 1980 and a legend, being a big part of the iconic win over Louisville at Madison Square Garden under Jim Valvano. And continues to work with the program. But today we want to talk a little bit about Veterans Day. My father was a World War II veteran. He finished his undergraduate degree really in midlife at Iona, and then he went back to get a master's degree at Iona in pastoral counseling. Kevin, good to see you. How are you doing?
Doing well, Ken, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And if I could just take a second and for those who are watching, wish everyone a happy Veterans Day and thank everyone for their service that served.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that you mentioned to me was the service in your family, your dad, your brothers, and your sisters, and a brother. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so was happy to have, and actually my younger siblings are the ones that served. So, two of my sister Donna, who lives in Atlanta, Georgia currently, my sister Rachel lives in Macon, Georgia, and my brother Ronnie, who also lives in Atlanta, Georgia. Somehow they all worked their way down south, served in the military. And my father was also someone who served back in the days. So, the Hamilton family was represented by, four individuals that, did their duty for us, and we are very appreciative of what they did.
Absolutely. Now, do tell us a little bit about what your dad did in the military, which
So,
branch he was in.
my father was in the Marines, and you know, without really knowing all the details of what he did, I know he served in the Marines, came out, and uh, actually met my mom back in those days, and then they started their long journey together. Um, Unfortunately, we lost him, probably 18 years ago now.
Uh,
But he was a very, very fine man who loved his country, served, and always encouraged us to respect the values of the U.S. So we're very pleased to have that.
Absolutely. We talk to a lot of veterans and hear a little bit of their stories. And just tell us a little bit about what your sisters did in the military.
So both of my sisters served in the Army, and one served for, I want to say, 11 years, and then decided to come out and start a family and start a career. And my youngest sister also served in the Army, and had an injury which forced her to stop serving. My brother Ronnie also served in the Marines after my father, and he's even till today is someone that loves the Corps. And if you looked at him, he's someone who also stays very, very fit, so he could serve again if we needed him to.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there something about the service of your father or your sisters, your brother that really takes away? As you said, your brother still keeps in shape and could go back to a Marine drill very easily. Are there things that they said about their service that they really learned from?
Well, I wouldn't say anything specific for any of them, but I would say this: coming from a large family, nine brothers and eight brothers and sisters, me being the ninth, um, we were very appreciative of what they did, because those of us who didn't have the honor to serve, for whatever the reason is, we certainly understood the value of what those who do serve gave to us, allowing us the freedoms to do the things that we did in those days and continue to do today. So I can tell you from the Hamiltons, we have a lot of respect and appreciation for those who, give us the ability to live free the way we live free today.
Absolutely, and so important that we remember the service of veterans. Also, we work in our media efforts on highlighting career transition for veterans, healthcare, and education. The GI Bill has helped so many veterans advance their education and move into professions, and those are so valuable to be provided to veterans. And I said I come from, my dad was a World War II Army veteran, and so was his brother. My dad went into Italy in 1944, helped liberate northern Italy, and my uncle Warren went into the Battle of the Bulge.
Wow.
And he actually he had a story he told about meeting General Patton. That Patton came into their camp and gave a pep talk that was memorable 5 or 6 decades later. As only probably a good coach would be able to do. And then also I had an uncle who worked in the Navy as a pilot and helped. Actually, the story was he was a test pilot, and he would test planes when they got to Pearl Harbor before they put them on a carrier. And then also had an aunt who was a Navy officer as a nurse. And when she enlisted in 1943, the only thing a woman could do was be a nurse in the Navy
Right.
as an officer, and so she stayed with that. She'd be so proud of what the women do in the military today. Virtually every aspect of military occupation is available. And also had an uncle, and this is really from my family. I grew up in Pelham. My uncle Dan Leahy, who was kind of known as someone who liked the theater after the war. It was kind of a thing to do, but he fought in the Philippines. And we've never been able to find his what they call a DD 214, which is his service record. But my mother said that when he came home, he could never eat rice again because the food had been so bad where they
Yeah.
had been in the Philippines, tracking, on MacArthur's campaign there. So, I think of that today. He passed away when I was in high school. As many of them did. Many died somewhat early, I would say. And but what he went through in his service career, his sisters absolutely revered him because they knew what he had been through. Well, it is a day to remember Veterans Day. Great to chat here about your family, and we got a basketball game tonight over at Hofstra, and Iona looked pretty good in their opening night effort against Pennsylvania, and Quinn Zelensky looked good with his 16 points, lots of energy, playing the point forward as Coach Pitino described it, and then how about Dennis Jenkins, 19 points in his debut for Iona. What were your impressions from Monday?
So, thanks for the question. My questions really started the day before, when I was able to attend and watch a full practice and chat a little bit with Coach Pitino and some of the other coaches as well. Watching them for the first time in practice, I could tell there was quite a bit of talent. But that talent doesn't always translate into a good team or good players until they actually end up on the floor. Really having a chance to see their work ethic, and a Coach Pitino led team, you have no choice but have a strong work ethic, and they certainly did. What was very pleasing to see, and I was very happy to be able to do the broadcast on ESPN Plus. What was very pleasing to me was to see, for the first time as a group on the floor together, them actually deliver and execute on the things that I saw them practice the day before. That's a very, very good sign when you can watch a practice, see what they want to do, and then they go out and do it. Although they got off to a slow start, you can credit some of the jitters for first-time players and even for returning players. But when they got their legs underneath them and the adrenaline rush was over, they really settled in and did some very wonderful things. Specifically, I have to start with the play of Dennis Jenkins. This young man was impressive in practice, and he was very impressive in the game. And he has the potential to fill a void that I thought Iona would have, losing, the likes of Jolly and some of the other players that they had last year, Van Eyck and others, with the leadership. But Mr. Jenkins did a very good job both in practice that translated to the game of being that guy that could step up and be that leader. His play is one thing, but if you watch him closely, he does all the other little things. He throws his arm around a player that maybe makes a mistake. He coaches on the floor, a lot like what Coach Patino would like to see. And he really, really delivered for these Gales, and I'm excited to watch him play for the rest of the year. You mentioned Slazinski as well. I love this guy. I think he's an underrated player, believe it or not. Everybody knows he's 6'9" and can do a lot of things, but he showed me that he can, you know, be Van Eyck like with some toughness and some leadership to this young group that's going to really need it. And I was happy to see that. Lights out from three, which is something that he worked on very, very hard in practice. But the other little things, he was the one that was on the floor more than the other Gales. And, doing whatever he could. There was one thing I want to point out. I know I'm talking a lot, but just one other thing. Junior Josephs got off to a little slow start.
Gonna ask you, yeah.
And when Slazinski came out the bench off the floor to the bench, he went right over to him, threw his arms around him, had a little chat with him, and it appeared to me that he maybe said something to Coach Patino or to one of the coaches to put him back in the game. And when he came back in the game, Nelly actually responded pretty good. So to me, that was a sign of a guy that was showing some leadership, helping his teammate who was struggling a little bit. And that's something that they're going to need. And I'm glad to see that he brought it to the forefront.
Well, that's one of the things I was looking for to see what development of Nelly Jr. Joseph has been. Highly touted in his first 2 years at Iona, and needing maybe to get it into initially better physical shape, and now refining his game. Some had said he had NBA potential. Do you feel his game is continuing to develop?
I do, and watching him practice, you can tell he's working on things that he needs to develop in. But he's a player that is reliant on other positions on the floor to be good. If he could bring the ball up the floor himself, then he wouldn't have to be reliant. But he's the guy that blocks shots, rebounds, plays physical, runs down the other side of the floor, and expects the other players to be able to do their part in getting him the ball and making open threes. And when he struggled early in this game against Penn, it wasn't because necessarily he wasn't playing well. It was because the entire team had some things that they needed to correct early in the contest. But if you saw him in the second half, when you saw Jenkins and Walter Clayton hitting some shots, and certainly Slazinski, and by the way, how about the other young man, John Luis? I mean, really, really stepped up. I'll tell you a funny story in a second, but Nelly Jr. Joseph started to perform much better when the team started to respond. So he's relying on other guys to do a good job. When they start playing to their ability, he really begins to stand out like he did. He was dominant in the second half of the Penn game. So,
well, Barrick kept getting talked to last year by Coach Patino about trying to create some offense. He's a very good defensive player, but needing to work on his offensive contribution. And he certainly did that. I think he had 10 points. He had 12 points in the game, which is about twice as much as he was getting in a lot of games last year.
I heard Coach Patino in practice say to him, Barrick, shoot the ball. You're open. Shoot the ball. Shoot the ball. And if a Hall of Fame coach like Coach Patino tells you to shoot the ball, what better green light than to shoot the ball? And I was so happy when he knocked down those 3 threes, 2 in a row, and then another one in the contest after that. It was just really, really good to see him. He's going to play defense. He's going to take charges, block shots, be the thorn in any good player's side. But when he's scoring like that, he really gives the Gales an opportunity to be better on both sides of the floor.
Hey, tell us a little bit about Hofstra, the opponent tonight out of Long Island, coached by Speedy Claxton. a Haggerty Award winner, 2,000 points in his career, 10 years in the NBA, and paid his dues as an assistant coach. And they had a top scorer, Aaron Estrada, 27, in their win over Princeton.
Well, Hofstra, as Iona should well know, is going to be very, very competitive. They play this style of game that their coach like to play. You know, Coach Claxton, ever since I've known him in high school, played fast, played tough defense, played aggressive, and when you're open, shoot the three. And that's what Hofstra is going to do. You know, they surround themselves with guys that can stretch the floor, can really shoot the three, and then they leverage inside, you know, with a little bit of speed when they can. But look for Hofstra to do a good job, you know, spreading the floor, forcing the Gales to close out and stop the three. You know, Coach Claxton is a very good coach. Anyone who wondered whether he could translate that from being a good NBA player to a good coach, there's no doubt right now. He learned from some of the best, and his style of play is entertaining, and kids love to step into that system and be able to play the way that, you know, Coach always did play and dreams of his teams playing. So it should be a very good contest.
Very good. Kevin Hamilton, we'll see you out there at Hofstra tonight for Iona and Hofstra, 7 o'clock start. And always great to hear your insight. And thank you for describing the service of your family in the military on Veterans Day.
Thank you for asking. My pleasure. And look forward to talking to you again soon.
Absolutely. Good to see you. This is Ken Kreitzer for Cam Vets Media. We cover cadets, midshipmen, military and veterans, and Iona basketball. Good to see you. Thanks for watching.